morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio. So today, I'm going to be looking at a question which has been sent to me by a whole bunch of different people. Is double colourless energy a problem? Should it be banned? Is it OP? Or are we all just worried about nothing? As always, I should remind you that if you ever want to demand that I answer a question or make a video about a particular topic, you can do so over at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But some questions, like the double colourless energy conundrum, has been sent to me by so many people that I start to think, well, hang on a second, maybe it's time I weighed in on this. And if you want a nice, short, quick answer, no, I don't think it's a big problem, and no, I don't think it's going to be banned. But by now, ladies and gentlemen, you should know that that is not really my style. I can do better, and in this video, I intend to do so. Now, one of the arguments I've seen for double colourless energy is you can't ban it, it's been around forever. Well, what a lot of newer players don't understand is that that's not actually true. Now, it did originally get printed way back in the base set. That was the very first set that was ever released. And the thing about double colourless energy is it is exactly what it says on the tin. It is 2 colourless energy. The thing is, back in the day, this wasn't a huge problem, because the best deck back then was the Haymaker deck. I did do a video about that. It is, in fact, by far the most popular video on this channel. I'll pop a link in the description. And essentially, you had Hitmonchan that was really good for 1 fighting energy, Electabuzz that was really good for 1 lightning energy, or maybe even 2. And then you would sometimes see people playing with Blastoise because it could accelerate energy using its ability, or Poké Power as it was back then, Pokemon Power, in fact, right back in those days. And you did see Chansey see a little bit of play with double colourless energy, and that did make it quite good. But double colourless energy was not broken back in the day. It was not the big powerhouse it is nowadays, because honestly, you would just use cards like Gust of Wind and Plus Power to make sure you could take out little Pokemon on the bench, while using cards like Energy Removal to stop setup decks. And yeah, it was basically a Haymaker world, and we were all just living in it. And Haymaker didn't need double colourless energy. Yes, there were Pokemon like Chansey that used it, but it wasn't a huge problem. And then you see it went away. Now, obviously, we got base set 2, but that was like a reprint set that didn't really count. And after its first print, in the base set, now for anyone keeping count, the base set was 1999, we didn't actually get a new print of this until it came around in Heart Gold Soul Silver in 2010. 11 years. And the second it was reprinted, it shook up the format. You see, when double colourless energy was reprinted in Heart Gold Soul Silver, it immediately turned Garchomp C into the best Pokemon in the format, and SP into the best decks in the format. Garchomp became seriously overpowered with this. You see, SP Pokemon had a card called Energy Gain, which could be attached to an SP Pokemon and reduce the attack cost by 1 colourless energy, which means that Garchomp could then use Dragon Rush for just a double colourless energy, which was huge because double colourless energy did 80 damage to any Pokemon on the field. And at the time, everyone was playing Uxie, and Uxie could be taken down by this. And everyone was playing Claydol, and Claydol had 80 HP, and that would be taken down by this. And any evolving decks would have their pre-evolutions out, and they would be taken down by this. It literally got to the point where Garchomp was so good that SP mirrors, which were very common given that pretty much everyone was playing them, would literally just play stuff like Ambipom and Dragonite as counters for Garchomp, because Garchomp was too good. The Garchomp walls were a very, very big part of that format. Before double colourless energy came around, SP decks did see play. Blaziken was a good card, and Blaziken Luxray decks were good and all of that rubbish. But really, ladies and gentlemen, Blaziken went away pretty much immediately as soon as Garchomp came around. It shook up the format. And if there was ever an argument for double colourless energy being banned, if there was ever a point where double colourless energy was too good and needed to be stopped, it was when it was reprinted in Heart Gold Soul Silver made Garchomp C ludicrously overpowered and completely shook up the format. But then again, it wasn't all bad, because there were Gengar decks that could stand up against SP, and there were Machamp decks that countered XP quite nicely, and there were Gyarados decks that countered SP quite nicely, and there was my boy Donphan. And don't get me wrong, right? This was a ludicrously overpowered deck, and in 2010, Yuta Komatsuda did go and win the World Championships with Luxchomp. No argument there. It's a great deck. But was it good enough to get double Colorless Energy banned? Not only did it not get double Colorless Energy banned, I don't even really remember anyone calling for it back then. And it's very curious to note that although it took such a long time for it to be reprinted, initially, we've not had a format without it. So anyone arguing that, oh, it's been around forever, well, it's been around for a long time. But actually, if we take 1999 as the starting point, then we've basically got 19 years of the Pokemon trading card game. We've had, for about half of that time, double Colorless Energy. It's just most of that has been the recent, so, you know, that's what we all remember. So what's the problem nowadays? Well, the problem is, and I'm going to be taking LimitlessTCG.com's results here, if we have a look at the recent Anaheim Regional Championships, and we look at the top cut, what do we see? First place, Jimmy Pendarvis, Seismitoad Zoroark, well, that's a double Colorless Energy deck. Second place, Connor Finton, Vespiquen Flareon, there's a double Colorless Energy deck. Fourth place, Zoroark, double Colorless Energy. Fifth place, Zoroark, double Colorless Energy. Seventh place, Zoroark, double Colorless Energy. And yeah, there's a lot of double Colorless Energy rolling around. But then we still see Rayquaza coming in third place. That's not going to be using double Colorless Energy. Israel Sosa went and got 8th place with Lucario, and I'm willing to bet that didn't play double Colorless Energy. We saw a 6th place finish for Connor Pedersen with Boswell Lycanroc, which doesn't play double Colorless Energy. A little while ago, I made a video about Dimension Valley, and I suggested Dimension Valley could be banned in the expanded format. And the reason, incredibly simply, was every good deck was using Dimension Valley. Now the format moved on, and it's no longer the case, and it no longer needs the ban, but it was the case at the time. But we're not there at the moment. There's plenty of viable decks without it. And honestly, right, I'm not counting Vespiquen Flareon, because I love me some Vespiquen Flareon, right? It's probably my favourite expanded deck. I'm a huge fan. But in the top 48 decks of Anaheim, there was one Vespiquen Flareon. This is not exactly some unstoppable powerhouse deck. It was one player with one good list. Now, Zoroark is everywhere. Zoroark is a phenomenal deck. And especially in expanded when you add in Skyfield, 20 damage for each of your Pokemon in play for a double Colorless Energy combined with a trade ability is phenomenal. But is Zoroark unstoppable? I mean, it won the tournament, and it was 2 of the top 4, and it was 4 of the top 8. But that's nowhere near as bad as Garbodor was in Seattle right after it was released, when it was 6 of the top 8 and 24 of the top 32, and we all coped very nicely with that without it being banned. And the other thing is that we can look at a couple other formats here and really not be worried. So if we look at a standard format at the moment, let's take the recent regionals in Harrogate over in the UK. And okay, we do see some double Colorless Energy popping in here, because we see first place was Zoroark Gyarados, and that'll play double Colorless Energy. But second place Blacephalon's not going to. Third place Zoroark, okay, that'll play it. Fourth place Malamar Spread. Well, I mean, double Colorless Energy's good in that, but it's not the be-all and end-all. You're using Malamar to accelerate basic Psychic Energy. That's not to say you won't play double Colorless, because it's still a good card in that, and that deck did play double Colorless. But it's not vital like it is in so many others. Granbull down in 7th place isn't playing it. Blacephalon in 6th place isn't playing it. Ultra Necrozma down in 8th place isn't playing it. So essentially what you see is 4 of the top 8 play double colourless energy, but 4 of them don't. So is it that huge a problem? I'd argue probably not. And then of course, and here's the biggest reason why I don't think double colourless energy is a huge problem. Let's have a look at Japan's expanded format at the moment, shall we? And okay, Zoroark's doing quite nicely there. But 9 of the top 16 are Rayquaza decks. And in fact, come the next set, come team up, people are going to stop arguing that double colourless energy is too good, and you'll probably start seeing an argument that Rayquaza's too good. Now, at this stage, some of you are probably thinking, hang on a second, how does Rayquaza get so good when it's not that good at the moment? Well, remember, it's expanded, so they've got Max Elixir, but having said that, they've got Max Elixir at the moment. Although we saw that it did do well in expanded recently, it's not the powerhouse deck here that it is in Japan. What are the big changes? And there are 2 big changes that are going to make this OP. And they're 2 Prism Stars. Tapu Koko Prism Star's got an amazing ability. When it's on the bench, you can put it in the lost zone, and then attach 2 lightning energy from your discard to your bench Pokemon, 1 to each of 2. And that just gets 2 extra energy on the field, bearing in mind Rayquaza does 30 damage for each basic lightning and grass energy on the field. So that's just an easy extra 60 damage, which can make the difference. But also Shaymin Prism Star. Shaymin Prism Star is a great card for 2 grass energy, 30 damage for each energy attached to your Pokemon in play. So it's basically the same attack as Rayquaza, but on a single prize Pokemon and for 2 energy rather than 3, and that just gets you a big KO for a single prize Pokemon, and your opponent has to take it out, or else you can just keep taking prizes with it, so you're forcing them to ignore Rayquaza and take a single prize. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that at the moment it seems like double colourless energy is great, but it's been a bigger problem in the past, and it wasn't a big deal. It's not overwhelmingly great in standard, and even if you do want to argue it's a huge problem in expanded, wait till team up drops, because Rayquaza is about to get nuts. So there we go. I think with questions like this, when enough people ask me, it's time to start making a video. I don't think it's a huge problem, but I do think that I've got a lot of historical knowledge, and I got to show you the history of double colourless energy, and I'm pretty well glued into what's happening in Japan at the moment, as well as what's happening over here. So I think mixing in those 3 perspectives really did make it worth me showing you all of this. But now, let's get the comment section going. I do want a big old argument about whether double colourless energy is too good, but I also do want you to please keep it respectful and be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays for some more Wassy action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.